Hey there, and welcome into the Daily Dynasty Show. My name is Spencer Smith, and on today's episode, I am again joined by Ivan. What's up, Ivan?
What's going on, man?
I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to be going over a Monday Night Football recap from the Doubleheader. We're going to be doing some NFL news, of course, Dream Team Fantasy, and a draft of the top 5 game day foods. You don't want to miss a thing. Let's go. Alrighty, Ivan, let's start here. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, rather, with the Monday Night Football doubleheader, and we'll get into whether we like those or not. But
yes,
the Falcons, they beat the Bills 24-14. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Michael Penix Jr., have yourselves a day. What did you think of this game, Ivan?
Yeah, it was what you wanted to see from the Atlanta pass catchers, as well as all the weapons they have there with Bijan, of course. And, you even saw Tyler Algier getting 10 carries, also got into the end zone. So if you were desperate at the running back position, he was someone that you were able to at least use and really come through for you. And, yeah, for the most part, I'm going to just talk about Bijan and how Drake London were so awesome. And, I mean, Drake London, 10 receptions, 16 targets, 158 yards, 1 touchdown. And then, of course, the second most effective pass catcher was also the running back, Bijan Robinson. 6 receptions, 68 yards on 8 targets. So, I mean, this Atlanta offense was just buzzing, and it centered around really their two main weapons, Bijan as well as Drake London.
Yep, it was incredible. Bijan Robinson, is this like a legacy game, do you think, for him? Do you think this was something that cemented him, not only going forward, obviously everybody knew he's the guy, but was this truly like his moment, was against this Buffalo Bills team and how he played? Do you think this was like the legacy game this year for Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, well, he's been so good all season. He's been so consistent. I mean, he's someone that if you just pull up his stats over here, you can see here his game logs. He has not had a top, rather, so his finish in week 3, where he was the RB12, was his worst start. Other than that, he's been the RB2, RB7, RB5, and I'm sure RB1 after this week. So he's been someone who's been absolutely consistent. But yeah, to your point, this was probably his best game of the year. I don't know if I'd say his legacy game, but I mean, for all we know, this could be the one thing that at least cements it because of it being on a primetime platform as Monday Night Football.
Absolutely. This is what I was thinking during that game was, oh my gosh, Drake London. I love Bijan Robinson. But before this game, I'm in. So Sleeper's doing this new thing this year called a Chopped League. Have you seen that? Where
yes, I have seen those. Yeah.
So I was doing one of those. Actually, I think I'm in 2 of them. I'm in one of them with some local buddies, but then another one with. I think I threw up something on Instagram before I got yacked on there, and then Twitter, and said, "Hey, who all wants to join?" So we did a big one, and before this weekend, or rather before tonight, I think it was last night or this morning, I said that Drake London's literally going to have the game of his life for me to, be kicked, for me to lose. And, brother, was I sweating. Because the only person I had left was Caleb Williams, which we'll get into that game next. But, bro, I was sweating, bro. And the league chat was like, oh, my gosh, Spencer right now, sending the gifs of the guy, just drinking water, you know what I mean, and sweat coming down. Bro, that game was, oh, my gosh, that game was incredible. I got a buddy of mine who's a Falcons fan, and he was just lit up, dude, absolutely lit up. But let's switch to the other side here, the Bills. What was your takeaway, from Buffalo's side of things?
Yeah, it was just so crazy that they couldn't really get anything established. I mean, I was going up against Josh Allen in one league, and I already had a pretty comfortable lead. And it's funny, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but you'll kind of get a calculator to see, okay, how much points would my opponent need to beat me in this matchup? And he needed about 37 points, and he had Josh Allen. And I thought, I don't know why I'm still nervous, because we know that Josh Allen has that kind of capability to put up 37, even though it sounds ridiculous. But I was just saying, no, this is Josh Allen. He can easily get to this mark. But I didn't think he was going to put that much of a stinker. I mean, the Bills' offense didn't look like they were much in sync. Even the running game couldn't get much going. I know James Cook was okay. I mean, as far as being efficient and getting a little bit over 80 yards, but didn't get it into the end zone, so it seemed like more of a Met game. But yeah, I mean, just these pass catchers couldn't really get much separation. It just seemed like the Falcons had a good game plan going up against these Bills.
Everybody was shut down. I mean, you think about it, it was James Cook, who 2 weeks ago I make a pretty solid trade for him in one of my dynasty leagues, and that trade, at least as of right now, is not working in my favor. But I know as time goes by, James Cook is that guy. He got paid. He was the RB1 before last week's game, but he was shut down. Keon Coleman was shut down. Shakir was shut down. Kincaid didn't even play. So Josh Allen, it was a rough game for him. But that Falcons defense, I think the other thing, too, is that Falcons defense is no joke. Like, it's not like this was just a bad game for the Bills. Like, the Falcons defense has been like that this season other than one game.
Right.
And ironically, it was the Carolina Panthers. But we know those division games. It's something that you brought up last week. Potentially, and they always have the potential to be some trap games because, these teams know each other more than anybody else. So, the Falcons coming out and beating the Bills, but losing 30-0 against the Panthers a few weeks ago is just that parody of the NFL. You know what I mean? So,
right, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that with the Falcons and the Bills, great win for the Falcons. A bad loss for the Bills, but hey, they'll move on after this one. But I want to switch here to the other game on this doubleheader, of which we'll get into. We'll talk about that fiasco, the question rather. But the Bears versus the Commanders. The Bears. This was an incredible game to watch. I mean, listen, the Bears, they were up, I think, at one point 13-0, I think. And then the Commanders they just march back. I mean, the Commanders are playing about 2.5 because the first half of the first quarter, not so good. But then the second quarter and the third quarter, the Commanders are playing great football. And I think it wasn't raining in the first half, but then the second half it was raining. Or maybe it was raining the first half and I didn't see it, but I know for a fact it was in the second half. So second half of the game, it's raining harder than it was, if it was, in the first half. So the Commanders are starting to get a little slowed down. It's the Bears in the fourth quarter who are turning things around. On that final drive for the Commanders, it's third down. Jaden Daniels fumbles the handoff. The Bears are able to fall onto it. And then the Bears march down the field, and it is just DeAndre Swift. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, why on this final drive, when literally all the Bears have to do is get a field goal, is this Commanders defense playing prevent? When they've just been running the ball with DeAndre Swift so many times. What are we doing? But regardless, the Bears are able to get downfield, and against all odds, Moody kicks the field goal. The Bears win the game by a point, 25-24. Bears win on Monday night. Ivan, what was your takeaway from this game?
It just seems like these Commanders and Bears are always going to give us some kind of last-minute heroics. I mean, last year was the crazy Hail Mary. Now we got this last-minute field goal on a botched fumble during the last 2 minutes of the game. So, of course, that, of course, being the Commanders having that fumble late where the Bears are able to capitalize. But, I mean, yeah, I knew that DeAndre Swift was going to have a solid season because of the volume, and I know that was probably one of my takes, Spencer, that gave me the most trolls that were saying, oh, well, he's not going to be doing all that well. He hasn't been all that efficient. And I said, hey, I understand that. And there was even some murmurs that, people would say, oh, well, Ben Johnson, isn't going to utilize him. And my retort would always be, well, Ben Johnson didn't address the RB room in the draft. He didn't address it in free agency. Granted, of course, they got Monangai, but this was a fifth-round rookie, so it wasn't like they used expensive draft capital to get him. And you're seeing it now. The first 6 weeks of the season, Swift has been the lone guy to get all that carry. So, for example, here last night, 14 carries for a total of 17 touches. I mean, versus Monangai's only 5. No, I'm sorry, 6. So the discrepancy has been there all year. DeAndre Swift is the clear running back to draft. Now, granted, I will say this. I've been saying this all the time. He isn't the most efficient running back at times. times. However, he's getting the volume in an offense that that's going to get a lot of touches. And now on a 3-game win streak, you just can see things coming together here for the Bears. And yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, is seeing DeAndre Swift continuing to get the volume. And one thing I did speak on my previous video that I posted early Sunday morning was the concerns with Deebo Samuel. And not that, of course, I don't think he's going to be solid, but I did say, hey, this is a good window for you to sell high, because McLaurin has been in and out of the lineup because of injuries. And I've been saying, too, that right now we're seeing him. I think he was wide receiver 6 going into this week, and he had a really sloppy game. And not that I don't think he's been looking great, because he looks like he's a lot healthier, looks leaner. However, I don't think the production is going to sustain itself, especially with McLaurin just coming off a contract that they just extended him to. He's not going to completely get phased out, but I think that we just saw already his peak, and we may be seeing a slight decline as the season goes on, because you saw Zach Ertz basically get all the work for this Commanders offense.
This kind of goes back to what you were saying last week then of trading Deebo Samuel, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So in this game, for me, I think that, the Bears, I'm with you on DeAndre Swift. I tweeted something, I want to say it was on Wednesday maybe, and man, it blew up. It blew up, and it blew up. I mean, it was just like, how Twitter works, man. You tweet something that you put a lot of work into, you think it's going to go off, nobody cares. You tweet something that literally is like a nothing burger, and it blows up, and Twitter has like, you suck. Fantasy receipts, keep this one.
Right.
So, which, by the way, if y'all don't follow or don't know, Fantasy Receipts is this Twitter page. It's got like almost 40,000 followers, I think. You know who they are, Ivan? You know who they are? Okay, yeah.
I do.
Yeah, they're
yeah.
funny. Basically, their whole point, and someone I think one time, I think I saw it on Friday, was like, can you ever show the good? And he's like, I don't think you know how things work around here. His whole point is just like taking people who talk about fantasy and like, I don't know how he has the vault. I don't know how he's got the vault. But, bro, he pulls stuff up from before the season, last season, 2 years ago, 2 months ago, 2 days ago. He pulls it up, screenshots it, and just lets you know who said it. What's funny is when you see the people who block him, I think they're hilarious. As soon as I posted this DeAndre Swift tweet, and it blew up, I didn't just say this immediately after, but it was once it was around 20,000 views, I was like, oh, dang. Okay, so I tweeted at Fantasy Receipts. I said, hey, remember me if this goes south. I still stand by it, but if not, and then I sent that Jake Gyllenhaal gif of him kissing and going into the mist. But so essentially all the tweet was some stats about DeAndre Swift, where he ranks amongst other running backs with those stats, and a lot of them are top positions, I guess, or like top 15 rankings, whether it's like RB7 here, RB11 here, RB9 here, yet his value is super low because of his average. And that's what a lot of people were attacking me over, was his 3.3 yards per carry before this game, which I understand is low. Like, I agree, that's low. I think someone else said, yeah, I would agree with everything you have to say if it wasn't for the fact DeAndre Swift loves to run into defenders. And I thought, I mean, yeah, solid point.
Yes.
But here's the thing. DeAndre Swift, so long as Breece Hall doesn't get traded to the Bears, DeAndre Swift is the guy for Ben Johnson this season. He gets the work. He gets the pass-catching work. And I think this game, it was at least, if nothing else, if for the rest of the season he sucks, it was very cool to have that tweet where all I simply said at the end of those stats was, go trade for Swift now while the value is low. Because you're not going to be able to trade for him the way you could have 2 days ago. Like now, with 7 yards per carry, over 100 rushing yards, a receiving touchdown a day, a top 10 day for Swift, his value's back up because the Bears are playing good for once. So the Bears' offense is good. DeAndre Swift is good. And to switch back to the Commanders, yeah, I think when Terry McLaurin comes back in, maybe it's not immediately what it was last season, but it definitely hurts Deebo. If nothing else, it definitely hurts Deebo. So I agree. But that's why you should have made the trade last week on the Trade Away, Trade For show when Ivan brought it up. If you missed it, definitely check that one out. But I want to move on here to the question that we've all been wondering, Ivan. Doubleheaders, are you with it? Are you against it? Let's talk about it.
I am not, man. I mean, it was cool when I think I think 2 years ago, I can't remember when they first launched it, but it was the first week of the NFL season. I thought, okay, maybe because, it's the first week, the NFL kickoff. Okay, let's have 2 games. But I just don't like how they overlap. And I think it would make more sense if you had one a little earlier, so that way as that one ends, you can at least have the second one, and you don't have to worry about going back from ESPN to ESPN Plus or whatever provider you have that features the game. So, and then, of course, you also have, for me, I'm also the baseball guy, so you have the Dodgers playing last night. Plus, you have. Sports is great, but the question was whether or not we like these doubleheaders, and my answer is going to be no. I just think the overlap is it gets old after a while. It really does.
I'm with you, man. Just give me one football game like Thursday night, one Sunday night game.
That's
one Thursday night game. Listen.
Right.
This is the end of the football week. Is on a Monday night. You know what I mean? The beginning is a Thursday night. I have worked. We're all working for the weekend, right? We're working our life away. I've worked this week away. All I want is to not think. I want to sit down and I want to watch Thursday night football to start the NFL week. You know what I'm saying? As the Sunday day goes by, Sunday 1 p.m., or I guess where you're at it would be, do y'all always look at it at 10 a.m.? 10 a.m. Yeah, the 10 a.m. kickoffs. But the first slate of kickoffs, I'm ready. Let's red zone this thing. Let's look at all of them. This is incredible. I love this. Then you have the 4 p.m. slate.
That's right.
Or the next slate, rather. Let's do it. I'm ready. By Sunday night, I've done all my doing it, looking around, trying to see all the games and the quad box and the octo box, and I've done it all. Now I'm ready to wind down with the wife, grab whatever drink we're drinking, get some popcorn, whatever it is. I'm ready to wind down, sit down, and mind-numbingly watch football. Monday is by far, for most people, not for me, I love Monday, only simply because as far as my day job goes, it's my second off day. So really, it's my Sunday. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Monday, most people hate it, right? You know what I mean? It's the beginning of the work week. It's not a good day. So when you get off work, I shouldn't be having to solve math equations to figure out where the 2 games are going to be, what times they're going to be happening. Just let me know. I've got the Bears versus the Commanders tonight, and I can't wait to watch that one game. Why are we having to flip through? I just think it's dumb. I think it's dumb. I don't like it.
Right.
And like you said, the overlap is stupid too. Like, now I got to choose between which one of these on Monday night. If it's Sunday during the day, I'm thankful there's football games all over the place. In the living room, I got one game going. In the bedroom, I got another game going. On the phone, I got this game going.
Amen.
But when it comes to night, brother, let's just all come around the box that we call a TV and just watch the game. You know what I mean? That's my take. I'm with you. I am with you, brother.
Hey, you know what? If I may, Spencer, can we also nuke some crappy matchups in these London games? All these games that they play internationally seem to suck. It's like the worst possible matchups. Like the Jets and Broncos, such an eyesore. Justin Fields looked like crap on the field. I'm just like, I feel like every time I tune in to a London game or these international games, they're always crap. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what a low scoring game.
Yeah.
Granted, 2 good defenses, right? You have the Broncos and Jets, but I want to see some points, man. I want to see some good outputs. You see, like, to kick off your Sunday morning, you see Garrett Wilson give you, like, only 4 points, or Cortland Sutton has a crappy game
Brees
as well.
Hall. Oh, my God.
And then you see Justin Fields Brees Hall was non-existent. J.K. Dobbins also came back down to earth. It's just ugly, man. Like, these international games also have been pretty
some
crappy
would say they've been
as well.
Dookie doo-doo, as some would say. But yeah, I agree, man. And I think before the season kicks off, there's all the hype in the world, right? So before the season kicks off, it's the Jets versus the Broncos. It's Justin Fields. It's Brees Hall. It's Garrett Wilson. By this point of the season, you're looking at an 0-5 going into the game, now 0-6 Jets team, who, I mean, and we'll get into it. Like, literally, we're about to segue into the news, but Tyrod Taylor has been getting a lot of push in the locker room.
Support from his team,
to be the starter. And I'm thinking, man, listen, and man, there are polarizing players in the NFL, and Justin Fields, he is one of them. Justin Fields, you are either all in on a believer of Justin Fields and you believe he's been unfairly treated throughout his whole career, and if he could just land in the right spot, he would be. And then you got the other coin of it, which, a buddy of mine, Jacob Berger, I'm sure you've probably seen him on TikTok or whatever, but Jacob, he's a Steelers fan, comedian, and he pointed out the other day how he's never believed in Justin Fields. The only time Justin Fields gets all of his stuff is by the time the game is pretty much away from them. So the defenses are just playing prevent defense, and he's able to run all over the place. So you're on one side of the fence with it. There is nobody at this point of his career in the middle of the fence anymore. You either despise Justin Fields, think he should not be a starter in the league, he should be a good backup, or you believe Justin Fields has just never been put in the right situation. And the only situation that somewhat looked good was when he was 4-2 starting for the Steelers, but then he gets benched the moment Russ is able to play. So, all that being said, and I know we're kind of doing a weird segue here, but just so I can officially mark it, let's segue into the news. All right, we're into the news now. But when it comes to Justin Fields, Ivan, which side of the fence are you on with Justin Fields? And I don't even necessarily want to say with the Jets because, yes, he got the 2-year deal. But
Sure.
We all know that second year is very similar to Stephon Diggs and to Sam Darnold's contracts. All three of those guys signed deals where their only guarantee was in year one. And then if they stay on the team past a certain date in the offseason, then that next guarantee kicks in for the next year. So for all intents and purposes, this is essentially a one-year deal for Sam Darnold, for Stephon Diggs, for Justin Fields. Now, of course, with Sam Darnold, he's balling out. I think he's staying. But anyway, as far as Justin Fields goes, what's your take with him? And you can either say with the Jets, but just your take on Justin Fields, the quarterback. What's your take?
Yeah, it's just hard to watch him, man. I think he's, like you said, the polarizing take is there. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen enough to really feel confident of him being a franchise quarterback. And I was watching the fantasy footballers early this morning, and they had a
Shout
take.
out to the fantasy footballers.
More so, Jason Moore was
favorite. They're my favorite.
Are the GOATs.
Favorite. Anyway.
Yeah, they're so awesome. And Jason Moore had said, I don't think that Justin Fields will have the ego to allow this, but he may be better suited playing a skill position, just because, unfortunately, the skill set there as a quarterback isn't there consistently. And that's where I fall too, where I just feel like every time he's in the pocket, it's just a hit and miss. You just never know what kind of output you're going to get, and that's a problem, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, thankfully, it's been okay for playmakers such as Garrett Wilson, but I think that just speaks to how good Garrett Wilson is. I mean, these guys like Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, there's a certain amount of wide receivers, and even back in the day, DeAndre Hopkins, where it didn't matter who was under center, these guys were always going to produce. And unfortunately, Justin Fields for me isn't it, and I think that the Jets have something to really figure out, especially when you got a veteran like Tyrod Taylor that seems to be getting favorite from the locker room.
Let me just throw a curveball at you. Okay, let me just ask you again in a different way. Justin Fields, do you think has been placed in bad situations outside of the Steelers? He was with the Chicago Bears in a terrible situation. He was with the Steelers in a good situation, but just they never really gave him, I guess, the chance once Russell came in. But he was 4-2 to start, and now he's with the Jets, who is an utter failure. Like, could you place another quarterback in there and they get a couple of wins? Maybe. And by the way, Justin Fields, it's not like they're getting blown out. I mean, they've been close a couple of times. So with Justin Fields, do you think it's just been put in bad situations, or do you honestly think it doesn't matter where he goes, he's just not that guy to be the starter of the franchise of your team?
Yeah, I'm on the latter. I mean, I get it that maybe the whole Steelers situation, even with the Bears, as far as them not being able to get the weapons that they needed to get for him. But he still got, of course, some good chances there. I don't know. I'm just more the latter. I just haven't seen anything to be like, oh yeah, like this guy's been completely done dirty, because the skill set hasn't been there consistently. And I think it was 2 years ago when we first started connecting. We were all looking forward to the year 3 breakout, and it didn't really come. And for example, when we see guys that take that leap, like for example Josh Allen, and we see Jalen Hurts that take those leaps into their third season, I don't know. I'm just more so, I'm not sold on Justin Fields. And we can go and make this a little bit of a longer video, but I'll just make it as short as possible and say, no, he's just not it for me.
Just not that guy. Justin Fields, he ain't that guy, man.
Not that guy.
Well, maybe Tyrod Taylor will be that guy. Maybe Tyrod Taylor will be that guy if he actually is able to become the starter for them. We'll see. But some other news here. So Emeka Egbuka, is expected to miss some time with the hamstring injury, Ivan, let's just go to you here. How devastating was this for you when you see Emeka Egbuka, when you see this injury? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a bummer just because he's been so explosive all season. I mean, he's been the wide receiver 2 in explosive plays, someone who's made an instant impact. I mean, of course, we knew that this draft class had a few good playmakers such as, Egbuka, Matthew Golden, but he's been the clear number one, where you just get so pleased with what you've been seeing from him, especially being put in a situation like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So seeing him hurt is going to be a bummer. Actually, I have a few players from this team that I think would be good waiver options in lieu of Emeka Egbuka being out. The bummer is that, of course, you don't know how long he'll be out for. Thankfully, it didn't seem too serious, but Todd Bowles seems to be a straight shooter. So hopefully as the week goes on, we'll get a better indication of what we're looking at. But of course, for fantasy purposes, it is a bummer to see him sidelined for a little bit, especially considering he's had such a hot start to the season.
Yeah,
as
I
a
don't know
rookie.
what's in the water over there. Hamstring injuries with him, hamstring injury with Mike Evans. I don't get it. Something's going on. They need to, those trainers, they need to work on focusing on the hamstrings a little bit. But amidst Tua Tagovailoa calling out teammates for being, and we can talk about this too, we won't break down every little bit of news. There's so much news today, but this one I did want to I wanted to see what you had to say. Amidst Tua Tagovailoa calling out teammates for being late / skipping team meetings, former Dolphins player Deshaun Hamilton says that Tua himself was late to a meeting when Hamilton first joined the team, saying, quote, "This dude, the starting QB, was late to the first team meeting during my 3 seconds on the Dolphins," end quote. Man, Ivan, let's just unpack this for a second, all right? And like I said, we're not going to go over every single bit of news, but I wanted to ask you this, man. When it comes to Tua, and it comes to this whole situation of Tua inaccountability, if you will, what's your take with him with the Dolphins? I mean, listen, they're losing by these are like so many one-score games right now, but Tua and the Dolphins, man, what's your take?
Yeah, it's not looking pretty. And I know that, I don't know how you were doing your rankings over the offseason, but I remember the Dolphins players were always players that I was worried about. Not that you wouldn't draft like a Achane because he was in the Dolphins, because he's still good, but you knew, okay, what's going to happen if McDaniels is to get fired? Because this is the one team that had so much drama with Tyreek Hill about trade talks, and thankfully it didn't affect them too much as far as production early on into the season before he had a season-ending injury. But when it came to ranking and tiering some of these guys, I knew that a lot of it was, okay, well, what's going to happen with this coaching staff in the middle of the season once they start losing? So all I have to say is it's not surprising to see what's going on. It's just crazy to see what the behind-the-scenes things are taking place, such as, these team meetings and, now you sharing this report about Tua himself also being inconsistent with being held accountable and also showing up late. So kind of ironic that he's calling it out now. Unless, of course, he's now gotten better in this area and wants to see it improvement from his teammates. But it's rough, man. I mean, where do you stand with everything with the Dolphins?
I think that, two things. Number one, to go back to what you were saying about before the season, I think that I was very much up in the air about Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I think that I was very much, up in the air regardless about this offense, just because when Tua's fully healthy and he's playing, he's got his moments, right? He's got his moments. The issue is he does get hurt a lot. Now, thankfully, this season we've not seen that, but the offense still has just sucked. Just point-blank period.
Yeah.
Outside of Achane, it's just sucked. And now Tyreek Hill's out the rest of the season. I want Jalen Waddle out of Miami. I want him to be on a better offense that he could be the wide receiver too, truly, but not to a Tyreek Hill, to some bigger-bodied bruiser wide receiver. I think that would fit his skill set better. But regardless, I think Achane's doing okay because Achane is Achane. But as far as Tyreek Hill goes, I'm all the way out on Tyreek Hill as a starter. I think Tyreek would be Tua. I'm all the way out. Well, daggum, as far as Tyreek goes, I guess we're out this season, of course. But Tua goes,
right.
I'm all the way out on him as a starter. I think Tua would be a fantastic backup. But accountability is an ability for a starting quarterback. I mean, you're not going to have Jalen Hurts throwing shade at player-only or team meetings. You're not going to have Justin Herbert throwing shade at these things. So I think for your franchise guy, accountability is an ability that Tua, just for the most part, doesn't seem to have. I mean, it's a running joke that anytime post-game he gets up to the podium, you already know it's about to be something ridiculous that, well, it ain't Tua's fault that the team sucks. So I think it's everybody else's fault around Tua. But I honestly think as far as Tua goes and as far as the Dolphins go, which are two separate issues, I think Tua would be a great backup or a starter that doesn't, like a bridge quarterback, not somebody that's paid as much as he is that has the need that a team needs from a guy paid like that. But as far as the Dolphins go as well, factory reset, ship off everybody and let's just factory reset this. And I'm talking Mike McDaniel as well. I don't know if you caught my Wednesday episode with Josh, but he said that Mike McDaniel is a great offensive coordinator, and that's what he needs to be. Get out of being a head coach. Be an offensive coordinator for a great team and just continue doing that, because the Dolphins is just a bad situation. So I would just factory reset that whole shindig down there in Miami.
Imagine McDaniels being the OC for Philadelphia. Just as an Eagles fan, I would absolutely love that.
Bro. Oh my gosh! And I'm gonna get to the Eagles OC because we got some news about that. But that would be incredible. That would be incredible. But Mike Tomlin, the Steelers are looking to add a wide receiver, so that's interesting. The Titans have fired Brian Callahan. His tenure has been awful there. Darren Waller says that the Giants never put him in good situations. And that's interesting that he literally retired and now is out of retirement, and he's doing okay with the Dolphins. Not a lot of, not too big of expectations there. This is what I wanted to get to with the Eagles. Got to come down here so I can read this here. Nick Sirianni remains confident in offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, and he will remain the play caller. So the full quote here is, "Not in this sport is it ever on one person, and we're not in the business of assigning blame. We're in the business of finding solutions. As we watched the tape today, it was a little on everything, and that's the game of this team football." So, what's your take there of Patullo? What's your take of him as the OC in Philadelphia? Do you think this is Nick Sirianni just having the back of a coworker, or do you honestly believe that he believes in this play calling and week by week it's becoming better? And it's not too little, too late, but it is becoming somewhat better in the pass game. But what's your take there?
Yeah, I'm not all that concerned. I mean, of course, I was just saying that I would love McDaniel just to be a little bit greedy as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, because I loved what we saw with Kellen Moore. But even with Kellen Moore last season, early on, it didn't look all that great either. And there was question marks as far as how they were going to get this team going. And they, towards the end of the season, when it mattered most, you saw Philadelphia kind of put things together. You saw the offense looking like it was more efficient, more streamlined. And I think that this is where I think they're on their way. I know that there's been so much put on A.J. Brown as far as how he's reacting, all the cryptic tweets that you see as far as what he says post-game. But we even heard this same song and dance during the postseason run when he had the book out there on the sideline. And quite frankly, I just think it's the Philadelphia media being Philadelphia media, looking for any kind of thing to report on and to just really squeeze out any kind of possible drama. So my short answer is, yeah, maybe I'm not the biggest Kevin Patullo fan right now because of how the offense has been looking, but I think that there's still some level of grace that could be had, because the team prior to Thursday was 4-1 and was undefeated prior to that, and we've seen a few flashes where you see the offense clicking, and I just think it's just a matter of getting the team consistently up and running, and I think that they'll eventually will get there, especially considering that they had some pretty tough matchups to open up the year with some pretty good defenses that they were facing.
Yeah, my only concern is Brian Johnson. If we can remember 2 years ago, this Eagles team was undefeated until I think week 9, week 10, but it was bad behind the scenes, and it got bad very quickly, Jalen Hurts and other significant offensive players not attending meetings where Brian Johnson was in them, and to the point they lose to a Buccaneers team in the wild card that could barely put up 9 points against the Panthers the week before the playoffs. So that's my only concern is with Patullo. Listen, the passing game has gotten better the last couple of weeks. I give you that. Now, it's like we brought up last week. It's kind of seeming reactionary because we're giving up the run game. Like, it's a heavy switch right now. I would like more of a mix. And I think if we can get that, then I'd be happy. I'd be happy. But let me ask you this. Do you think that Kevin Patullo will be on this Eagles team after this season as the offensive coordinator?
You know what? I've been dying for Jalen Hurts to just have some level of consistency with an OC, and I thought that Kellen Moore was going to be the guy, but after how well he did, it didn't surprise me to see him get a head coaching job, right? Yeah, and there were some talks about how Sirianni was trying to talk him into staying one more year to run it back, especially once they figured how. Right. But I mean, unfortunately, I don't think that Patullo maybe is the long-term solution, but hey, you know what? All this can change in a matter of weeks. So say, if Philly starts to, I mean, my big thing will be how we do after the bye. Usually you see teams hit a reset button, kind of recalibrate. So I want to give Patullo as much room as possible to continue to develop. It looks like he has the confidence of Nick Sirianni. And I think that there's something to be said, too, about a coach that has gone to the Super Bowl and has won it already. So I think that his words do carry some weight. And you got to give the guy his shot to see, okay, you know what? If this is the guy that he's going to stand behind, he's earned it because they've already won a championship with this guy. And, this could also be some of the hangover of the Super Bowl run that they had. And, Saquon having this slow start isn't too surprising considering the workload that he had last year. So he could ramp up as the year goes on as well. Could be a good buy low option right now, especially once the schedule opens up and gets a little bit softer, especially with the matchups that they have with teams that don't do all that great with running backs. So all I have to say is I think Patullo would still be around, but for the whole season. But we'll see who's available. Because if, say, for example, McDaniels gets canned and he's looking for a OC job, I mean, why not take a shot on him, knowing of what, of course, he can do for an offense?
Yeah, and I think the point that you brought up there with Saquon starting slow. I mean, we saw it with Travis Kelce last year with the Chiefs. I mean, he started the season way slow, but then they ramped it up, getting closer to the playoffs. And then, of course, he was just firing on all cylinders in the playoffs. So maybe that's something that we're seeing right now is a little bit of limitation, if you will, just to kind of – I mean, they limited him last year. They didn't let him break the record in Week 17, Week 18. So, I mean, if they were willing to do that then for the playoffs, coming off of a Super Bowl win, I'm sure, kind of to your point, they may be able to do that. Now, so move on here. Geno Smith says that they've been losing, but he's been having a lot of bad luck. He said he needs to jump in a lake or an ocean or something because he's got a lot of bad luck on him. End quote. Garrett Wilson will miss a couple of weeks with a hyperextended knee. Matt Eberflus, despite the Cowboys' rough start, is expected to remain the defensive coordinator the rest of the season. Brandon Aiyuk, this situation looks rough. So this is the last bit of news here. I'm going to have to zoom in here. Brandon Aiyuk removed all 49ers references from his social media and hasn't been seen at practice in weeks. Quote, the return of Aiyuk would provide another playmaker to the offense, but the possibility of that happening this season is becoming less likely, if it happens at all, end quote, per Jennifer Teachin. Let me ask you, Ivan, and then we're going to move on to the waiver wire. Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, is this another? What was his name? I know I was about to ask the question. Okay, what's the guy's name? He was a wide receiver for Detroit, and then he got a huge contract with the Giants, and then he stopped playing.
Kenny Galladay.
Is this another Kenny Galladay situation where he had literally a year and a half good run, gets the payday, and of course it was a bad injury, but there's no way he can't be on the field like in a week or two from now, and he's not been showing up to practice. So, I mean, what's your take on Brandon Aiyuk?
Man, it's just so messy. I mean, we know what he's capable of doing as far as what he can do on the field, and it's just been so unfortunate that he hasn't been available for this San Francisco 49ers team that has been so depleted with injuries on offense. I mean, you think about George Kittle being out, being put on IR, and if you were to ask me who would have been the most healthy player on this roster, I would have not had guessed it would have been CMC, especially considering the history. But Aiyuk, unfortunately, hasn't been available, and it's a bummer because he could have definitely been so much of a support for this offense that has been dealing with injuries all season long.
Yeah, truly unfortunate, man. Well, with that being said, what's not unfortunate is the fact that you got Ivan here with me. We're going to talk about the waiver wire for Week 7 right now. And I think last week, I think to start the show, I may have said your waiver wire for Week 5, even though I meant Week 6 because the Week 5 had just ended. But regardless, my English messes up sometimes. So this is officially the waiver wire for Week 7. I'm going to start us off here, Ivan. We'll go back and forth. We'll list about, how many you want to list?
Sure.
Did we say 3, 4? How many are we going to do here? Okay, so we're going to list 3 guys here. Let's list 3 guys each. And I'm going to start us off here with Kyle Monangai from the Bears. We saw him get a lot of work in last night's game. It was DeAndre Swift's night, but he got a lot of work. We saw him get a lot of work with the Bears, and in a game where even when they were down, they were using him, right? You know, there's that old adage, especially in the fantasy football community, that if a team seems like they're going to lose a lot, then they're probably going to pass the ball a lot. So don't draft those running backs. You know what I mean? Like, for example, for the longest time, maybe shy away from Carolina's running backs, but definitely get their wide receivers because Carolina's going to be down in a lot of games, so they're going to be passing the ball. We see with this Bears offense, especially last night, in a primetime game against the Commanders, being down, they're still utilizing DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, and Kyle Monangai got enough work that he is definitely, especially right now, in an environment where there are injuries, there are bipocalypses, there's all this stuff going on, start-sit decisions. You can use a guy like Kyle Monangai off your waiver wire, and he should be available in a lot of your leagues. Ivan, who's your first guy?
Mine's going to be, I know last week we spoke about the unfortunate news with Omarion Hampton being hurt, placed on IR, and then we even got another report yesterday that unfortunately it may be even beyond the 4 games
with
once
Hampton?
he comes back from the IR that he'll miss. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Kamani Vidal. He's only rostered in 27.1% of ESPN leagues. I know that there was talk about, okay, who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Haskins? Is it going to be Vidal? Vidal really emerged as the main superior RB within this offense, had 18 carries, 124 yards, also caught 3 of 4 targets for 14 yards, and had 1 touchdown versus Haskins, who had only 6 carries, 14 yards, only caught 1 reception on his lone target, and really was outsnapped. Vidal had 67% of the snaps versus Haskins 31. Now, the one thing that I will say is that the matchup is not going to be intriguing in Week 7 because they are going up against the Colts. Granted, Bam Knight was still somewhat solid because he got into the end zone, but this Colts defense is going to be one that will probably give this running back room some heartaches, so I will temper expectations with the Colts going up against the Chargers in Week 7.
Love that, bro. Love the Vidal take. And my next guy here that I wanted to bring up was Luther Burden. I'm going to stay with the Bears here. Luther Burden got a lot of action last night as well. And this is another thing about this rookie. Something that we got to remember, Luther Burden is a rookie this season. And maybe he's a guy that's going to break out and truly break out closer towards the end of the season, but he's that Jameson Williams guy for this offense. And DJ Moore, yes, he's here this year, but will he be after this year? I don't know. You know, DJ Moore, it's almost like he's been somewhat phased out of this offense because Roma Dunze is the guy, DeAndre Swift is the guy, and then it's a toss-up between DJ Moore and Luther Burden. DJ Moore getting utilized a little bit more consistently than Burden, but for a guy that's getting paid as much as he is, you would think he'd be getting utilized a lot more, but it's just not the case. So give me Luther Burden, but I promise you when we get to my third one, I'll shy away from the Bears. But Ivan, who's your second guy here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michael Mayer. He's currently rostered in 3.1% of ESPN leagues, and I know that Brock Bowers was a late stretch late last week, even though we saw that he was very limited with practice participation. However, the Raiders are going into a bye in Week 8. I just can't imagine they would need to start Bowers in Week 7, which is, of course, is a bummer for those of us that have him in fantasy. But we saw how well Michael Mayer was able to fill in. He had a team-high 7 targets, finished 5 receptions, 7 targets, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. Played really well filling in for Brock Bowers. Of course, the matchup doesn't really intrigue you going up against Kansas City, who allow the 6th fewest points points to opposing tight ends. However, this is still a game where you expect Mayer to be the main guy for Geno Smith, and the volume alone at the tight end position will at least get me intrigued. So for now, I mean, of course, this take could fall apart if we hear that Brock Bowers was to play in week 7, but logic for me would assume that he would not play, considering they have a game in they don't have a game in week 8 for their bye week. Let the big guy get some rest, and that way he comes back ready to go in week 9.
Off of what you said last week, and man, I love A.J. Barner. Now, he didn't have the biggest game in Jacksonville this week, but he is their guy. A.J. Barner still definitely available for you out there in your waiver wires, but A.J. Barner is the tight end for the Seahawks. Make no mistake about it. Man, I love A.J. Barner. You should definitely go and get you some A.J. Barner action. Again, he didn't have the biggest game, so maybe if he's not even available in your waiver wire, you can maybe talk to that A.J. Barner owner and be like, maybe you made a mistake. I'll take him off your hands. So, A.J. Barner, man, I'm a big fan of A.J. Barner. That's my third guy. Ivan, what you got?
Good stuff there, man. Yeah, I mean, Barner's a great take. So for my third one, it's kind of a 2-for-1 because both of these guys have the Johnson last name. Yeah, and both of them are on the exact same team. So rare that you'll see a waiver wire where I'm suggesting for you to get 2 players on the same team. Both happen to be last name Johnson. I'm going with Cameron Johnson and Tez Johnson, wide receivers for the Buccaneers. And we see that this offense, man, is so depleted with injuries. You have Chris Godwin already dealing with the fibula issue. Mike Evans, obviously, with his injury. And then now you have the unfortunate news with Emeka Egbuka with the hamstring. And quite frankly, Baker Mayfield, doesn't matter who's out there, he's going to be slinging it, and he's been having a great year, and we'll get to him a little bit later when we talk about Dream Team players. However, both Cameron Johnson and Ted Johnson are going to get involved. So you saw, for example, Cameron Johnson has played 49% of the snaps, 4 receptions, 4 targets, 64 yards, 1 touchdown, and then Tez Johnson played 72% of the snaps, didn't have all that much of a productive game compared to that of Cameron Johnson, only had 1 reception for 45 yards, 1 touchdown. But my point is the volume's going to be there, so we don't know which one of these 2 guys is going to be the main guy. But I think if you are desperate, if you are dealing with injuries, such as, because you know what, it's very likely that someone had a Malik Neighbors to open up the year, had Emeka Egbuka as their second wide receiver. Yeah. So you could be depleted at the wide receiver position right now, and I would feel very confident throwing these guys in a situation where I'm putting them in my flex because they're playing the Lions, and the Lions allow they allow the 4th most points to opposing wide receivers on a points per game basis. And I just love Baker Mayfield under center. I think that he's going to get whoever is available involved. And for now, it just seems like it'll be, of course, Cameron Johnson or Tez Johnson as your wide receivers. Of course, I think that Cade Otton's going to be probably the main guy that he'll be targeting, especially hearing that we got Bucky Irving already out for week 7 as well to go along with Chris Godwin and maybe even Egbuka as well as Mike Evans. There could be
teams out there that had Malik Neighbors. Their next wide receiver was Tyreek Hill. Later in their draft, they got Emeka Egbuka. I mean, that would be a terrible. And I saw a trade. Right. I think it was guy started. This was the same weekend where both of these players got hurt. The guy had Malik Neighbors on his team. He gets hurt. Monday Night Football, it's the Dolphins. So he makes a trade for Tyreek Hill in his fantasy team, and literally that next night, Tyreek Hill out for the rest of the season. I mean, the injury bug has made residency with all of us, but what it's not made residency with, actually, let me take that back, knock on wood. I don't want to say what I was just about to say. But what I will say, segue here, is let's get into a segment called Dream Team. So the Dream Team Fantasy Squad, we're going to pick one guy at each position. We'll go back and forth here. And this is basically if we could pick one player from each position to have for the rest of the fantasy football season on our dream team, who would it be? And Ivan, you're the guest. So on these next 2 segments here, I'm going to let you start. So Ivan, who would you take? And we'll just go position by position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Who would you take at quarterback?
Sure. Cool. Well, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so you would assume I'd go with Jalen Hurts, but I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has been so phenomenal, man. I absolutely love this guy at the quarterback position. Someone who, since joining the Buccaneers, has found a rejuvenation in his career. He's already on pace for another 4,000-plus yard season. Someone who's number 1 in the quarterback position in explosive plays, and he's just just so phenomenal. It's just, and also the story itself. Someone that if you maybe have a Lamar Jackson or maybe even a Jaden Daniels in any kind of dynasty format, Baker Mayfield I think is the perfect tier down. But now we're seeing him just be so productive. So for me, yeah, Baker Mayfield, someone that I'm high on, someone that I love having at the quarterback position in my fantasy leagues.
After this segment, we can pick the same player. Now, we did not see each other's notes, but what's funny is I was literally going the same thing. I'm an Eagles fan. You would think I'd pick Jalen Hurts, but no, I'm going Baker Mayfield as well. Listen, he's got great games coming up against Detroit and New Orleans before their Week 9 bye.
That's funny.
And not to mention a great fantasy playoff schedule. Atlanta, Carolina, Miami. Currently, he's the QB3 on the season and very much in the MVP conversation to what you were saying. You were getting him a tier below those big names, but he's right with them right now. And he's right with them on a team that has players falling out left and right, yet he's still finding ways to get it done. Baker Mayfield, I'm going to roll with him as well. So we got Baker Mayfield to start. Let's see what this running back situation is going to be. Ivan, who's your running back?
Yep. Yeah, this one seems too obvious, but I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. Also, someone that 2 years removed from... Audible, you got to be kidding me. I'm seeing your reaction right now.
Yeah, I was with you. Oh, man, but keep going.
Yeah, it's so funny. So yeah, I mean, it's been great to see him really get rejuvenated, and really, I think it goes back to something even more deeper. It goes to the fact that now you have Anthony Richardson outside of this a quarterback room. You have more stability with Daniel Jones. Steichen's been calling a great game plan, and you're seeing really the benefit of Jonathan Taylor. He's already on his way to outpace what he did last year in the receiving game. Someone who's been first in touchdowns, first in rushing yards. Volume is there. Second in red zone touches. So he's getting the volume, and he's getting the volume when it matters most, and he's also capitalizing on it. So for me, it's JT at the RB position.
That's what this is. We haven't seen each other's notes. Last week we shared each other's notes before the draft, but this week it was a little different. We haven't shared each other's notes, so we truly didn't know who we were going to pick.
Right.
And before I made the audible this morning, I wrote it in my notes, audible this player, I had Jonathan Taylor. And I was pretty much saying the same thing. Listen, this offense has been insane. Similar to the Baker take, he's got a solid schedule before their Week 11 bye with the Chargers, Titans, and Steelers and Falcons are a little bit rough on defense, but then 2 of the 3 fantasy playoff matchups. So if we're going to look that far into the future right now, 2 out of the 3 fantasy matchups are super juicy. You've got the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Jags. A solid fantasy playoff schedule. They're currently the RB2 and not slowing down at all, and is on pace to have an even better season than his RB1 season just a few years ago. But my audible here, due to recent events, is Bijan Robinson. I mean, oh my gosh. Give me Bijan Robinson the rest of the season. I love Jonathan Taylor, but for the sake of just having a little bit of difference here, I'm going to go Bijan as my RB rest of the season. We'll look back on this at the end of the season, but we have the same quarterback, Baker Mayfield. You're going Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to go Bijan Robinson. And you know what? For the sake of making sure that I legitimately didn't have the same thing as you, maybe somebody listening at home is going, there's no way they've been 2 for 2. Let me go first on this one. I'll go wide receiver. Wide receiver, I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba. What is it? Who's? Don't tell me. Are we the same right now? Are we the same right now? Oh my god.
We're the same
so
right
I've
now.
got Jackson Smith and Jigba. Listen to these numbers: 13, 10, 6, 5, 9, and 13. These are the targets each week that he's gotten. And he makes the absolute most out of all of them, getting dang near 8 or 9 receptions each time that he gets more than 10 targets. Currently the wide receiver 2 on the season, and I'm so excited to see how the season ends for him. He's a guy I was talking about, I believe, with you last week in the Is BTJ the Problem episode, which shout out to that episode that had the most downloads first day of any podcast episode I've ever released. So shout out to all of y'all. But in that episode, I was talking about Shane Waldron and how every team he leaves, the wide receivers do great. Jackson Smith and Jigba is an example of that last season. He breaks out in this season. He looks even better. But, Ivan, who's your wide receiver here?
Well, it was JSN, but don't worry. I already have another one in the barrel for you. Okay. And it may not be a sexy name because of the fact that we're just talking about this quarterback, Justin Fields. But I'm going to go Garrett Wilson, someone who I admire. I I love wide receivers, Spencer, that produce when the quarterback is not the most ideal. And Garrett Wilson is someone that just has always been consistent, someone that you can rely on. And granted, you have moments where, like, for example, last week was a fluke. You have the best corner that is defending him, who shuts him down to only 1 fantasy point per game. But Surtain does that to everybody. We even saw Jamar Chase have a hard time with him as well. But the point is, though, Garrett Wilson, someone who is who had a great game versus Dallas and then had a tough one versus Denver, is going to have a light schedule, especially going into the fantasy playoffs. I mean, the last 2 matchups, week 16, week 17, he has New Orleans, and then he has New England. Those are plus matchups for wide receivers in fantasy. And again, Garrett Wilson, someone that you can just always rely on no matter who's under center, even if it's Aaron Rodgers for 4 snaps of the season, or you get a crappy season with God knows whoever the Jets throw out there last year, and then now you got Justin Fields. For me, it's going to be Garrett Wilson just because of how consistent he always has been, despite who was under center for the Jets.
If they do make the switch, that was actually his best game this season, was with Tyrod Taylor. So who knows? We'll see. But my tight end here, now this one, I'm going to say it, and it's going to be pretty obvious, and we might have the same tight end just because why wouldn't you pick this guy? But I do have a backup just in case. But my tight end, and again, we probably have the same one. It's too easy. It's Jake Ferguson. No, we don't. Okay, we're good. Finally, Jake Ferguson is on pace to break tight end targets and reception records. Currently the tight end 1. A terrible schedule, I'll give you that, after the Week 10 bye, but he's the guy for this team. He is that guy. After getting the payday, listen, I remember when he got paid, I was sitting there thinking, that much for Jake Ferguson? I mean, listen, Jake Ferguson's a nice tight end, but that much? And, man, he's proved he was worth every penny. Now, say what you want to about situational circumstance that, well, he's gotten this opportunity because CD's been out. No. He has been that guy this season. Jake Ferguson is my tight end. Ivan, round us out here before we get into the illustrious draft.
One of my favorite players coming into the draft, and I kind of regret not getting him on some of my other startups, but it's going to be tight end Colts, yes. Tyler Warren from the Indianapolis Colts. The kid has been solid, and I just can't speak enough about how well he's been doing well for this offense. Currently is the tight end 2 in explosive plays with a total of 4, is third in targets, is first in yards after catch. We heard all offseason about how well he was doing in training camp, how he looked so explosive, how the Colts were utilizing him in so many creative ways, and now you're seeing him producing in the season. It's really phenomenal. I didn't think he was going to be first in receiving yards among all tight ends because I did think that Colston Loveland was going to be that kind of guy for the Bears. However, we're seeing Tyler Warren flourishing with this Steichen-led offense, and Daniel Jones obviously being the pass catcher there, definitely paying dividends. So for me, it's going to be Tyler Warren. We finally didn't get someone that was the exact same.
I was thinking Tyler Warren when I was writing up the team here, but I just couldn't. And I love Tyler. Great take. I love Tyler Warren. And you know what? To be honest, rest of season, who knows? Maybe something happens with Jake Ferguson, and Tyler Warren was really the guy all along. But Jake Ferguson, he's just having a special year, man. Both of them really are. Listen, Tyler Warren being the rookie, just having a special year this year. But that leads us into the draft. What is the draft today, Ivan? It is the top 5 game day foods. Now, per usual, I let the guests go first, but you can play the game different. It's up to you. I'm going to let you know. It's a snake draft, so if you go first, I get 2 straightaway picks after you, or I can go first, and you get 2 straightaway picks. It's up to you. I'm going to let you choose. Would you like to go first, 101?
You know what? I picked first last time. I want to go ahead and be a gentleman, and I'll let you have it this time around.
Top 5 game day foods. The 101 is very easy to me, and I've got some very specifics as well. But it's wings. I mean, wings is just, it is what it is. It's the 101 for me, probably the 101 for a lot of people. But wings is on my list, and it's 101, specifically Wingstop. Now, I will accept if someone wants to go out there and, like, they're the ones paying for it and they get Buffalo Wild Wings, I'll accept it. You know what I mean? And to me, B-Dubs is a fine establishment to go to with the pals. But if I'm getting food for a game day where I'm hosting it, I'm getting Wingstop wings all day long. So Wingstop wings, but wings is my 101. Ivan, what you got?
It's... You know what? Now I regret giving you the 101 because that was my take. And but hey, you know what? Yeah, exactly. Solid pick there. I'm gonna go ahead and you know what? During this past run that the Eagles had, I can't tell you how much fun I had watching it with my monkeys, with my two little girls, and they really enjoyed it because of the food. And you know what? Wings was definitely one of them, but that was not their favorite. Their favorite is the pizza. So I'm gonna go with pizza number 2. Now I'm all the way out here in California. I know you're all the way out wherever you're at, Mister Spencer Smith in Georgia, on the East Coast.
That's right.
No, and in the South. You're in the, yeah. So, and then I'm over here in the West Coast, but we had this great spot called Petrillo's Pizza. It's a very authentic Italian spot, but they have like this like Detroit style, like very long rectangle pizza that comes in squares. Phenomenal. But we also have a spot over here called Pirate Pizza. They have some really creative toppings, but the point is pizza. My girls love the ranch for their crust. I enjoyed as well. And I remember during that NFC Championship versus the Commanders, I probably had like 1 or 2 boxes all to myself, because what I do is I fast the entire day so I can go crazy during game day.
101.
Pizza's my 101. Now, so my second pick here is going to be chips. Now, I have a very specific brand, and that's going to be Miss Vicky's. I don't know if you ever heard of it before, but it's a very great brand, but I love specifically the mango habanero, and during game day, I love to eat something spicy, which is why wings usually would be my first take, but being that that's not available for me, wings, mango habanero, Miss Vicky's, because you get some sour cream, or some Greek yogurt if you're more health conscious like we are, and it's a phenomenal combo. So during game day, love to munch on some chips to keep the spices going and hopefully keep my nerves intact when I'm watching a really good game.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I mean, literally, you just had my next 2 picks. I had pizza. I had chips and salsa, but I'm going to leave the chips with you. So I'm going to have to go here. I'm going to go here with my next one, and that's going to be burgers. I love burgers. I love a good burger, too. So burgers is definitely going to be my my second pick, but I'm not just going to keep going with these main ones. I've got wings, I've got burgers, and I could go with another main one here, but I'll play the game. I'll kind of hopefully let it get back to me. But I got to go some pretzel bites or just some sort of like pretzel nuggets, pretzel baked bites or whatever. Those are always so good. I've got wings, burgers, and some sort of thick pretzel bites, pretzel nuggets, if you wherever you're from, however you want to hear it. But yeah, wings, burgers, pretzel bites. What you got for your next 2 picks there, Ivan?
I'm going to go with spinach dip. I just love me a good dip to go along with my chips. I know we just spoke about chips, but when I think about rather like one of those artichoke spinach dips, love those. I think it's a great combo. Something warm, cheesy to go along with my chips. So I'm going to go there. And then I'm going to also go ahead and go with hot dogs. I just love me a good dog. But I love myself, not just a regular like link. I want to see like a bratwurst, you know what I'm saying? Like good, thick, quality bratwurst hot dog to go along with my game day food.
Absolutely nice, thick hot dog there. Hot dogs are good. Listen, they're a little underrated, but they are good. I'm going to go here. So I was able to play the field and win, if you will. So my last 2 picks, I've got wings, burgers, pretzel bites. I will be throwing up the tacos. I love some good tacos, and I think everybody else at the game day party would like those as well. But one that's a little underrated, and I'm going to throw it out there, is sliders. Sliders are always a good pick. I love me some good sliders. My buddy Ben, his mom makes, oh my gosh, bro. We used to get together for the games back in the day, and his mom, shout out Rita, she makes some great game day sliders. So does my wife's mom, my mother-in-law, Kathy. She makes some good ones as well. But game day sliders, bro, got to give it to game day sliders. Ivan, round us out here with your last pick, and then we'll go back and forth with the honorable mentions that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, so mine, I know we spoke about a lot of food here, but after all the great entrees, all the great chips and the sides that you have, you need to be able to wash it down, and you have to wash it down with something sweet. But something very specific as well is some very chewy chocolate chip cookies. So once all the food is down, now we're in the second half of the game. I want to enjoy some nice chocolate chip cookies. You can say white chocolate chip macadamia as well as an honorable mention, but a chocolate chip, you can't go wrong. Enjoy that as you wash all the great saltiness down with some good sweet cookies.
I love it, man. good chewy chocolate chip cookie. That's great, especially if it's been recently baked. So while you're eating all your foods, right, whether it was your wife or the mom of the party or somebody was baking cookies the whole time, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then they come out, they're nice, that that rips apart, the chocolate comes undone. Love it. It. So I've got wings, burgers, pretzel bites, tacos, and a Good Game Day slider. You've got pizza, chips, more specifically Miss Vicky's, spinach dip, hot dog, a little bit thicker of the dog there, and chewy chocolate chip cookies. Now, Ivan, I'm going to hit us first with the honorable mentions, but I'll let you finish us off. Some honorable mentions of mine that didn't make the cut. I had chili. I'm a big chili fan. Love chili.
Good.
Baked macaroni and cheese. Always nice.
Ooh.
And pigs in a blanket. Love me some pigs in a blanket. Eat them a lot here in the South. So those are my 3 honorable mentions that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, that was one of mine as well, was the pigs in the blanket. Love having those. I'll go ahead and go with jalapeno poppers. We're over here near south of the border. And me being Hispanic, growing up in a Mexican household, definitely love me some jalapeno poppers with some cream cheese to be wrapped with some bacon and some cream cheese goodness. Gonna also go.
Well, I was just going to say, I've recently gotten into the jalapeno popper game. It's been made.
Cool.
My family, always, but I've never liked jalapenos. But over the years, your palate changes a little bit, and I've gotten into that game. So I gotta say shout out, because I was avoiding it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and for me, the next one is going to be some pulled pork. If you like some barbecue, got to get some pulled pork in there somewhere and mix there. I'm not one to make it, but I do consume a good amount whenever it is there available. And I'm going to also go ahead and go with, I don't know if you guys have ever had this before, but Costco sells like these little sausage balls. So I love having a little bit of a little appetizer when I'll go with those as my honorable mention to go along with the 5 we had before.
Absolutely love it. Well, if you want to know Ivan's other draft takes, you can look at the 5 things that are blue last Tuesday. Check that episode out.
Right.
Really appreciate you guys checking in on today's episode and dealing with, we're on a new situation, a new software today, so we're trying new things out going forward, at least for Daily Dynasty Show. I know Ivan, he has all his stuff already worked out, so definitely, Ivan, tell them where they can reach you with the high-quality content.
Well, yeah, man, greatly appreciate you, man. It was a long journey for us to get there, but you can follow me on the Ivan Herrera Show on YouTube. Same thing on Instagram as well as on X. We are inching close to that 1,000 subscriber count, so any and all support is greatly appreciated, and would love to see you guys out there too.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys go check out the Ivan Herrera Show on YouTube. Those videos are always high quality. I'm learning from the best as of right now. I'm getting into the video and audio game, taking that step up today, which is why there's been some technical difficulties, but there always is when you're starting out. And for those who made it to this part of the episode, I do just want to say thank you. Leave a 5-star written review wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Soon, hopefully today, Spotify, I'll start also allowing the video to be part of your podcasting listening experience. But wherever you're listening, leave a 5-star written review. You can find Daily Dynasty Show on TikTok, X, YouTube, and couldn't thank you guys enough for being here, Ivan. I really appreciate you being here, and until the next episode, see y'all.